Good morning, everybody, and thanks for joining this next PPN Present session, where we're going to be talking about AI agents. And I'm delighted to be joined in the conversation by Zach Hemmant-Low, who is an SVP of Global Sales and Alliances with Rossum. Wonderful to have you with us this morning.
Hi, Ellen. Great to have you. And good morning to everybody that is that's tuning in.
Fantastic. And you know what? I've been doing a little bit of background research into you guys as a company, and I've come across some fantastic customers that you have. You know, you've got the likes of Deliveroo, you have Bosch, and you have Panasonic, all, you know, household names. But for the benefit of the PPN community who may not be quite so familiar with you guys, perhaps you could just let us know a little bit more about who you are and what you do at Rossum, please.
Sure, no problem at all. So Rossum we fall within a bit of a funny space, right? So it's often now referred to as IDP, or intelligent document processing. A few years ago, it was kind of the OCR space, if you like, or document scanning. And really what Rossum does is we've kind of really revolutionized the IDP space. And I kind of look at moving forward the IDP V2 space, if you like, into really automating complex transactional documents end to end. So Rossum as a business, we saw a real kind of market opportunity working with these enterprise businesses, where we understood that complexity of documents was kind of not going away. If anything, it was getting more difficult. And our task was always to really focus on how do we extract the data, validate the data, and then pass it downstream to systems end to end as efficiently as possible.
And you know what, that makes perfect sense, because, you know, and I'm sure everybody listening knows all about the complexities that exist within processing. But I wondered if I could sort of dial it back a little bit to those early days. And I think you've mentioned a little bit about it just now. But if you could put your sort of mind into the founders of the business, I mean, what did they see as almost like a shining light of what was missing in the market already?
Yeah, and I think for those that didn't know, it says Rossum, but it's actually Rossum AI. And I think that was probably the kind of founding sort of view, if you like, which was our three founders still in the business. They were doing an AI PhD and looking at different applications of artificial intelligence back 7-8 years ago. So probably before many people even knew what AI really was, if I'm being honest. And what they had looked at across their kind of PhD was actually the application around extraction of data. And I think if you ask our founders, even back then, and actually back even today, their focus is on, well, how do we use AI to remove manual processes and manual tasks that we truly all believe, and I'm sure for many people that are listening in today, should very easily and could very easily be automated. So those tasks such as data entry, data extraction, data validation, their sort of simplistic view has always been, well, why don't we let a smart computer do the hard work and then enable these teams, let's talk purchase to pay, of course, so the finance teams and the accounting teams, actually focus on those value-added tasks. So rather than focus on data entry, what else can they be doing to really offer value back to their businesses?
And that's brilliant, isn't it? Can you imagine, like, being a PhD student and then thinking, do you know what? I'm just going to start a business and I'm gonna start talking about AI. Really, as you say, before anybody else was. I mean, that'd be fantastic. And I guess you need that kind of passion and drive, don't you, to become a founder of a business. And it's great that all three of them are still there. And I guess with that passion. Still, but we've called this session, you know, AI agents at your side. Maybe you could expand a little bit more about, you know, what is an AI agent, and perhaps, you know, how that differs to what other people might already have within their processing, and what can we expect that AI agent to help us with by our sides?
Gladly. It's one of my favorite conversations, to be honest with you, Ellen. And I think so. If we think about it, and there will be many people today, certainly in their finance function, that have said, "Well, we do AI. Why is Rossum different, or why is an AI agent different?" And I think AI itself is very much a tool, right? It is, I want to use AI to achieve a particular outcome. I want to find out the answer to a question, or I want to do something, right? And AI itself is a buildup of lots of different intelligence layers. So we think that AI should have, so I'll make it Rossum specific because it probably adds more context, but the AI at Rossum, it has experience. So like a human would, right? You hire a human, you would say, I want the human to have experience, except the AI has vast experience. It's seen hundreds of millions of transactional documents versus a finance major that might have seen thousands or hundreds of thousands, perhaps, right, in their tenured journey. It also is able to understand all those different languages, right? And I think that from an experience standpoint gives a lot more capability. The second side of that is then having the knowledge. So the AI should be able to connect to those different systems and have the knowledge and say, right, I understand the systems. So when we say systems, we mean everything from your QuickBooks to your Dynamics to your Fusion to your SAP to your Oracles, all the good thing there, right? Connecting and understanding all of those systems. And then it also needs to have skills, right? And this is where the agent piece really comes into place, because you can tell a tool, this is my data and this is the document. That's great. But you need the tool to start to have the skills to be able to say, well, actually, what do I then do by putting the data and the document together? I might need to understand that actually the document itself doesn't have all of the information. Maybe I need to be able to infer information, things like GL codes or things like doing calculations or transformations. I mean, I'm sure for many of our audience here today, even simple things like tax implications of different country variances, or looking at information that's not on a page, total amount, VAT calculations, all of those different things I think are really, really, really important. But the answer to your question specifically is actually collaboration is where the AI agent is most important. And that's what really defines an AI agent versus a tool that leverages AI. So we define an AI agent as a virtual colleague or a digital worker that you are able to delegate to rather than a tool that you use. And the reason I say that is because actually it's the delegation of tasks and linking the experience, the corporate knowledge, the skills with an element of reasoning and self-awareness within the context of what they're trying to achieve. That means that the agent can take all of those things to perform the A right through to the B and the C. And it's that reasoning piece that says, well, if I'm unsure, then I will escalate it to a human. So without the need to be, if I am fully sure, I can perform the end-to-end journey. If I'm unsure, then I'll work with a human colleague, if you like, and they will help to provide me the answer.
Wow, do you know what? That's such an interesting explanation, because I think just listening to you, it almost sounds like you're talking about a real person, in the sense that you can expect to ask for some of those aspects from an actual person, or it could be almost like a recruitment conversation. But of course, at a huge scale, and I suppose that's where that AI agent comes into its own, because you're able to do so much more and have so much more experience, as you say, at a vast scale. So that, I guess, going back to what we said at the beginning of the conversation about reducing those complexities, you can absolutely understand from your explanation there how those can help to be sort of layered and sort of made it more smooth from here on in. I mean, talking about that smoothness and I suppose those kind of the complexities that the AI agents can help remove in the companies that you've worked with, what have the results been like in your experience?
Well, actually, I think I'll obviously be joining you at the summit on June the 3rd, and so I'll give a very sneak peek into one of our customers. I think Deliveroo is a really good example. So before Rossum, there's obviously a ton of manual processing, from extracting the data or refining what the data is on the document, to assigning different GL and tax codes, to making sure that all of the information was correct. And I think actually the number was, it was about 7 human touches before an invoice was from receipt all the way through down to payment. We've now made that touchless, right, for a huge proportion of their documents. And one of the big kind of misconceptions is that everybody focuses on touchless automation rates. I think the big thing that we see here at Rossum and with the agents is that actually not everything should be touchless, because there are so many errors and there are so many miscalculations, and there are also so many opportunities within the documents and the invoices and the purchase orders that an AI agent can help you to capture. So things like early payment discounts, things like extending payment terms, all of those different pieces that we allow humans to move away from going, I just need to process a document, into, well, how can I turn myself from a cost center to a value center as well? And delivery, we'll talk a lot about that as well.
Again, that sounds really interesting, and it just shows that, I mean, it's quite revolutionary to say not everything has to be touchless, because as you say, that is very much thought of as the holy grail of where we should be going. But I can see that if you've got intelligent AI agents and automation by your side, that perhaps you don't necessarily want all of it to be, as you say. It gives that level of individualism to the companies, and I guess flexibility too. And it's interesting when you said before Rossum, in my mind I see capital B, capital R. Anyway, so you partner with a wide range of companies like SAP and Cooper, for example. Could you just explain a little bit more about how that partnership relationship works, and why you think it's sort of beneficial to you and I guess obviously to your customers too?
Yeah, I mean, but both systems, SAP, Cooper, NetSuite of the world, they're all incredible systems, right? They're very focused on, for Cooper, they're very focused on the procurement, sort of the procurement lifecycle, with SAP very much from an ERP standpoint. And what we often see is that those systems are fantastic. They have incredible systems of record. They're great places to house supplier and PO information and all of those pieces themselves. But what we often see is that the kind of the front end, where the kind of invoices come in, actually those invoices don't really match to the systems of record, right? In SAP, you have like your order number, and that's pretty standard within SAP, and you have your structure of the way that you need your data formatted in SAP, or the way that you need your data formatted in Cooper. So the way that Rossum works is that basically for those suppliers, those vendors that are sharing invoices or whatever else it might be in terms of transactional documents with you, we really enable these organizations to supercharge their investments into a Cooper or an SAP by saying, hey, look, you need really clean, timely and accurate data into your downstream systems, rather than trying to fix that data once it gets into a Cooper because it just goes in that way, or an SAP. Why don't you send it to Rossum first? What Rossum will do is we will clean up any of the errors on there. We'll make sure it doesn't go into Cooper or SAP or NetSuite with errors or problems that need to be solved later. We'll solve them at the source. We can help you to respond to suppliers, double check the PO is valid, make sure the line items are there. If they're not, we won't send that data down to those systems, so we can keep a really clean system here. But if it is, or it needs further information, we'll enrich it and then pass accurate, timely information downstream. And for the majority of those documents, we do all of that completely automatically, really enabling the power of those downstream systems to give the customers the best benefit possible.
Yeah, and I can see, just hearing you give that explanation there, how that it's going to make a really big difference to those customers and those companies that you work with, because having access to clean data, makes all the difference in terms of processing times and obviously accuracy as well. So you mentioned a little bit earlier that you're going to be with us at the P2P Transformation Summit on the 3rd of June, and we're delighted to have you there for the first time and as our headline partners. So really looking forward to welcoming you. What kind of things are you most excited about or looking forward to?
Honestly, I think One of the things that I love about working at Rossum is we have an amazing product team, and they speak to so many of our customers on a daily basis and listen and learn and understand feedback. But that proportion is actually quite a closed door because it's all of the Rossum customers. What I'm really excited about is meeting a really wide variety of different people to try and understand their challenges, right? I'm at these sorts of events, and I'm sure, having seen the agenda, and I'm sure, Ellen, you'll agree, what we get the opportunity to do is talk about what does the next 6, 12, and 24 months really mean for the network. And it enables me to really understand how we can best support our customers and our future customers moving forward. It'll be fantastic to see success stories and really understand some of the key people in the industry that are really making change within their departments, and how they're transforming their departments from what they were into what they're going to be. And I'm really excited to learn a lot about that.
Fantastic. Well, we can't wait to have you there, and it's a beautiful environment as well. The wonderful Waldorf, as we're calling it, and actually they're in the Palm Court, so if you can imagine it, and it's just a very nice place to be, and as you say, to form those kind of connections. And I'm also really excited that you're going to be supporting our P2P Team of the Year award this year as well.
Yeah.
And so you're going to be up there on the stage supporting success in the industry. And also, while I'm talking about that, for everybody listening, the closing date for nominations is the 16th of May, so you don't have long. So get any of those final nominations in. We'll be delighted to see them. But I guess do you feel, Zach, that being part of a network is something that's important? I mean, you've just talked then about how it's great to be there alongside that, I guess, almost like a melting pot. It can be, is what I consider it being, melting pot of different people and experiences, and then out of that bubbles up sometimes more obviously connections and partnerships.
Yeah, I think there's so many values to being part of the network, right? I think I mentioned earlier on how the network can help us to support our own customers better, and also the network can help to give us feedback as to where they believe the future of the purchase to pay or procure to pay or even source to pay network is moving over the next couple of years. And that enables me to go back to my teams and give them that sort of vision, so that we have technologies in the market that can help them to either alleviate concerns of what is changing within the market, or have technologies which are ready for tomorrow as opposed to today. That's one part that I love about the network. The other part that I love about the network itself is actually because it's one of those fantastic pieces where, like, good work is really well rewarded within a network. So it's a great opportunity to share the work of either our customers or the work that everybody else is doing, and hear those stories of actually success here. And the reason why we wanted to sponsor the kind of P2P transformation team of the year is because actually these teams are doing incredible work, right? If you think about the technology shift over the last 2 or 3 years and how they've been within the kind of, as you said, melting pot of technological change and everything that's going on, it's wonderful to see how these teams are changing, evolving, really offering different values back to their own organizations. And I'm really excited to hear and understand more.
Well, we can't wait to have you there. And if I was to place a crystal ball in front of you, and you've got that access to all of the information that you've been to, talking to your customers, etc.
Yeah.
What would you say, or where would you say AI is headed in the source to pay space? You've talked about wanting to get that information from people that you speak to at the summit, but where would you say, from your experience, you see that heading in the near future?
So number one, agents. We kind of started with it, and I guess we'll sort of finish with it, right? I think we're still at that point where AI is more being understood. The next iteration will be, okay, great, now we've got AI, how do we create an agentic framework that allows me to do more with the team that I have, and create a workforce that can support my team? So I think honestly, agents is kind of where we're going, to enable them to do more and to have better capability. But the next part of that is also really, I believe we're now going to start getting into the next iteration of trust. So AI as a whole is, for many people, still a bit of a, not a scary word, but it's still a bit of an unknown in terms of how do you trust what the AI is doing? And more importantly, how are you going to trust an agent if an agent is going and working on its own and then only coming to you when it's seen something? So there's a real trust element behind AI. And I think short term, that's where we're gonna really start to see the developments of saying, well, I can have an agent to help me to either source new suppliers or look at the best possible option for this. Or we're seeing AI agents, obviously in Rossum side, but AI agents being used for a variety of different things. Contract management, most companies see that for customer service now, right? But it's really bleeding into the kind of heart of the organization to give better benefit.
And I think that trust is all important, isn't it? If you're going to expand and grow an organization, you need to have trust in it. And I can completely understand what you're saying there, and that is the next step in terms of AI, and I guess having faith in it. And I suppose the more that we use it, and the more that we have the kind of results that you've talked about already with some of the customers that you've described, I guess that's where that trust then feeds in, doesn't it? And I suppose just some final words from you, Zach, this morning. What's the kind of roadmap? And I suppose those agentic agents probably going to form part of it. But what's that sort of roadmap looking like for the next maybe 6 months to a year?
Yeah. So I guess no, it's a really good question, and I would answer it with agents, but we've already done that piece. So I'll give us that. I'll give a slightly different viewpoint, right? But I think the Rossum roadmap, and for those that joined at the beginning or those that joined late, right? We use AI for data extraction. That's one part of that. And truthfully, because of our own AI and the accuracy of extraction now, we really believe that the data extraction part is solved. So we've got everything from validation and matching. The next iterations for Rossum are really going to be on, well, how do we turn what is a very not linear process, but moving a document from here, getting the data and then putting it into the ERP, into actually something in which we can start to generate revenue from. So as I said a little bit earlier on, it's actually using the AI to predict phishing attacks, or predict actually there is something wrong with an invoice, or understand if there's any specific changes. It's being able to do GL coding outside of PO, right? So non-PO GL coding. It's maximizing your working capital. And there's so many different areas around that, right? We talked about maximization of terms. We talk around a variety of different aspects there, all the way through to giving you the power to ensure that you have the negotiation with your suppliers, right? Understanding the data to say, well, actually, I have this and I have this, but if I consolidate, I can do this. So I think that's going to be really where we work now, is rather than not a cost center, but I imagine there's going to be some people that listening in that kind of think, well, we're kind of seen as a bit of a cost center right now, actually really turning it into a value creation center from the documents that we're using as well.
Fantastic. Thank you for that, Zach, and thanks for joining us today in a value creation center. And I think everybody listening to our conversation today would certainly want to be a part of that and to have that within their organization. So thanks very much for sharing your thoughts with us today, Zach, and very much looking forward to having you there with us at the P2P Transformation Summit on the 3rd of June. Well, take care, everybody, and thanks for joining us this morning, and we shall see you all again shortly. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone.